An inmendham by poolside video. Just have to do them once a year. Lovely here, really. The pool's a little cruddy, but suffices. Anyway, it's nice. Things don't have to be expensive to be good. So, I don't know. It's a good enough version. So, good enough version, the Al Bundy version of life, good enough is kind of an interesting subject. I'm using the microphone thing just as I can. And it's a good test to see if the cord is waterproof, I guess. Anyway, it's always a good test, right? Except it's awful sunny, which probably isn't good. I probably have a better side somewhere. It's a little slippery in here. Anyway, that might be better. I don't know. We'll try some of this, and then we'll do something else. That's the way things are. So anyway, the way to value things is always the problem of the subjective point. And subjective doesn't mean the standard doesn't exist. It just means it's a certain kind of standard. It's still a fact. So if there was 10 people and they had subjectively different opinions of how much fun something is, that's sort of the definition of how much fun it is sort of the average of what all those people are going to tell you, in a sense that their testimony, let's say, is generally speaking sincere. Okay. Changing positions. All right. So let's say they're being sincere and they're trying to give you as honest an impression of what they think about the value of something, how they would place it in a category of things, and how they would judge it based on how much, what kind of suffering they would endure to have the thing. And so you could get 10 different opinions about the value. You could say $1 million. Well, would it be worth it to have $1 million if you had to have be in a car accident and have both your legs broken, and some chronic future problem? And it might not mean anything to somebody who's not a mountain climber, who doesn't need to be perfect physically for the rest of their life, and so the $1 million would be worth it, but to the other person it wouldn't be. So it depends on what you're compromising, and how people make these evaluations. But even underlying that, the fact that these subjective opinions are real opinions, and that they can't be just discounted because you call them subjective, doesn't mean they don't exist as standards. I mean, my opinion is a real assessment of how my body measures the weight. It's a real scale. It's not a non-scale. It's just a scale that varies from person to person. But the fact that it is a scale and it does take a measurement is just a fact that has to be considered. All the scales, you could argue, have some merit in, again, if we're all being sincere. Now, the question is this really just about how much do we value our satisfaction or our gratification of ambitions? So we have certain ambitions for our life that can be taken care of. See, $1 million doesn't mean anything to somebody who's a billionaire, right? $1 million can only mean something to somebody who doesn't have a secure future, let's say. But somebody who has got a semi-secure future, not too many worries, well, he's not going to sacrifice as much for $1 million. So these are all the variables that go into deciding whether somebody's going to say, yes, that's a good deal. And it really, again, has to do with how much they value what they think their expectations are. If you knew you were going to die tomorrow, well, you wouldn't bother spending the last day with broken legs, because you can't spend the money or you can't enjoy it. That kind of crap. So it really has to do with ambition and how much you think your needs are worth. How much is gratifying your ambitions, your need to do stuff, your need to have adventures, your need to have experiences. And really that's what you're questioning, is what's the value of having experiences. Not specific experiences, but clearly that's part of the equation. But a more fundamental question is without the need, that is, without some kind of peculiar subjective desire to do something, it can't have any value. So if I think, baseball is a silly game, probably shouldn't even exist because, it might be good for kids, but, adults watching this kind of silly performance art that measures not real accomplishment but silly accomplishments. So then how much, if I have that knowledge, how much could baseball mean to me? Being king of baseball or something wouldn't mean as much because it'd have that taint where I already know, being the king of a crappy world isn't much of a thing to be. And so I wouldn't place as much value on, even though it's this, could be argued it's the same thing we're both looking at. We're looking at it from a perspective, then you could argue that one perspective can be more enlightened than another perspective. Somebody could enjoy watching bullfighting and say it's worth the $20 ticket. And then somebody more rational could look at it and say, no, it's worth paying $20 to try to get it outlawed and banned because it's just this pointless cruelty for no real good accomplishment. And it's only because people have some kind of weirdo mentality, some sort of weirdo stuff in their brain, that they think it's fun to watch a bull slaughtered in a torturous, agonizingly taunting way. That taunting an animal to death is fun. Now they only have that perception because of some perverse bend in social evolution. They don't have it because it's meritorious and because it was a great idea. Just like baseball doesn't exist as the king of American sport because it's some brilliant thing. It just fell into the role, and once established as a tradition, then everybody just kind of falls into it. Hey, little ant. You have to get your own pool, buddy. I don't even really like pools. They're just always trying to steal stuff. Maybe that's just it, the compulsive little thieves. So it, this idea that there can be a rational assessment of value is all you can really say. Is try to get as reasonable and as precise in defining all of these variables that go into affecting what people think they need. Now the real question is, once you step outside of all the other value questions, is the value question of producing something that needs in the first place. So it's one thing to argue about how valuable to existing beings is it to go to Disneyland or to go to France and see the Louvre or something, or to have one of these experiences that people are after. Go to Thailand and have nookie orgy fun. One can place a value on it because it's of an existing person with existing needs, somebody who needs that. Now there's a lot of people, like maybe half the women might say they don't really want to do that orgy nookie thing. You could just assume. The half that aren't lesbians. What I mean. But anyway, officially. So, they wouldn't have any value to them. But if it was like a shopping spree, something like that, well, then maybe they can get off on that. And so it would have value. But the point is, it would only be valuable to somebody who has an existing set of ambitions or desires or aspirations for their existence, expectations for their existence. So it's only a person who already has these needs that this value thing could ever exist for. And the rational point would be is that I could point out that the negative price now isn't so subjective, because now any negative price you're paying is completely unnecessary. And you're opening the door to the potential that you're creating an idea of a satisfied need as having a real positive value, and only a positive value because of the state of our minds, that is our deprivated state, and the fact that we're hungry, and that's it. And if you don't create the hunger, there is no rational perception that says you must eat food, or you must go seek food, or none of that. The whole mechanism of desire is, once it's disengaged, you can't see any real value in it. And so it's a lot harder argument for these pro-lifers to make any argument that it's one thing to argue from their subjective passion and the fact that they really need it. They have to have these adventures, and it's okay if it costs something. And it's not only that it's okay that it costs them something, that's rational. That putting themselves at risk of harm is okay, being paralyzed even really bad harms, for their joy. But that's okay to put other people at risk, in the sense of the procreators, thinking everything's going to be just fine when everything could go catastrophically badly, and there's no way they can clean it up. There's no way they can undo the pain and suffering they'll cause somebody, to satisfy their notion that they needed to be to play Dr. Frankenstein. That there was some real something real to be accomplished, and there really wasn't. Something was really irritating. So I put this pool up a couple of weeks ago, and it was late, and asparagus grow really early in the spring, and they didn't grow here because I thought, well, they're finally dead. They're played out. And so now in the middle of almost the end of June, this stupid asparagus starts growing. I mean, right under the pool. So it's growing from under the pool. So now I can't put the tarp cover. I can't push it all the way back because of that stupid asparagus plant. I don't want to break it. It's just really. I didn't even know it, so I didn't even get the joy of the asparagus, in the sense that it already was heading towards going to seed. It grew so fast. But yeah, it was just insanely fast. So anyway, just a side note. Not terribly important, but just strange how quickly it grew, and in the wrong location, and dust in the lens. Well, there's still something in there. I should have cleaned that. No, cleaning the lens? That doesn't sound like a good idea. Alright, probably is. Alright, so anyway, so there's the perpetrators like to make rationalizations for their acts of insensitivity, where they'd like to say, okay, since none of us can make a purely objective argument about what standard of cruddy life is too low a standard, then therefore there's no conversation on the subject of applying too much risk or causing too much harm directly, even when clearly we know that overall procreators, generally speaking, will produce all kinds of monstrosities. And just because those monstrosities, like any need machine, end up valuing experiences and end up wanting to do things, even if it's just feel better. They want to experience feeling better before they die, even that minimum. That therefore it's not a real harm, and that somehow there's a gain or a neutral, like somehow it's okay, and it's now we can do this math, and we can cause all kinds of harm, or we can have all kinds of bad circumstances happen to people, killed in wars and such at 22, and somehow we're doing something meritorious enough, in terms of we're creating so much profit in having our not war experiences, our lovely day in the sun, making a video not so swell, but anyway, somebody's got to do it. But we have our nice moments, and those nice moments are so incredibly profitable that somehow they pay for the suffering of victims and the the unsatisfied investment that victims make in their life. The idea that they spend years trying to get a hold of a life, and then they're just annihilated in a day by a drunk driver or something. And there's this argument that, again, we're making so much profit, so much extra money, that we are compensating for those deficit existences. And I just think that's a vacuous argument, especially in the context of how most of the human race has lived through most of human history. And the biological argument is just kind of obvious, that I can point to so many species that produce, dozens of offspring in their existence, and it's only a lucky 2 that will gain a life where they can actually start gaining some satisfaction or gratification, or having experiences that are worth dying for, if there's such a thing. So that's even if we assume that my standards, where there really aren't any such experiences, is somehow not are closer to a correct standard. As if there couldn't be a correct standard. That's another argument. They just make the argument as if it can't be, when it certainly can be. A fully informed and knowledgeable perspective could be something that can exist, and that perspective would understand that my idea, my notion in my head of a need, is just a notion in the head, and its gratification really doesn't accomplish anything but satisfy a notion in the head that probably should never existed in the first place. That doesn't really have any function besides deluding me into thinking something's important. It's kind of like me and cigarettes. Cigarettes are a stupid, idiotic thing. It's a dumb chemical. But once you're addicted, you have a different view of it. It somehow seems redeeming. But you can rationally know there's nothing redeeming about it. It's just an addiction. It's not a good thing. So you're just bullshitting when you're making yourself comfortable with the fact that you're addicted to something that's stupid. And those are just rationalizations. So, I mean, most of the time I'm pretty clear that I wouldn't addict anybody to nicotine. It's stupid and all that kind of stuff. But I will talk about it, in ways that express some degree of love, just because of the fact that it has done that to my psychology. It has enslaved me and corrupted my judgment. I can't see it for how it really is, because I'm too personally caught up in a physiological reaction mechanism that deludes me into thinking I'm accomplishing something, or it is satisfying something, or it is doing something, when it is, but it's also the very cause of the thing it's fixing. So it fixes, it creates an illusion of satisfaction, but it created the dissatisfaction that precipitated or had to come before that satisfaction. So it's just duping. And you could argue that the people who think their ambitions, oh no, that's not good. No, that's not good. You little fucker. Well, that probably wasn't an effective way. I should have ended its futile pursuit of gratification. Little bastards. This is one of the greatest, in my opinion, arguments against the existence of God, is the existence of mosquitoes and biting flies. Just because, life would be so much nicer without them. I mean, they just ruin, like campfire, lots of circumstances, and you can't really enjoy it because these little biting bugs will ruin it for you. and yeah, they're just such a blight. I mean, what kind of rational God would create parasitic, blood-sucking, disease-carrying, biting? Like, even if they bit you and spread disease, that would be bad enough. But the fact that they do, cause you these stupid welts and itchy spots that don't go away until you break them open, and all, it's just horrible. Anyway, I mean, I just don't know how people can think, oh yeah, God thought this through. He thought it through, and that was a good idea. No, it wasn't a good idea. So, oh, god damn. I mean, that's just rude. You little fuck. Yeah, fucking bastard. You come back to the same spot. See, that I don't know what it is with shoulders, but man, they have a thing for shoulders. They're just killing me. I suppose there's worse places, but I mean, So, but I'm just saying, it's lovely pool weather, lovely, 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 and it gets ruined because if you're not all the way under the water, you're ruined, and such. So, that's probably enough of a video. I won't push my luck, see if it worked at all anyway. So, but I should do at least one of these, I figured, because it really is, $10 solution, $10 pool on sale. So I had the other pool and it was a little bigger, but it was like too big. This one's still more than one person needs, but if I ever have company, But it's just it's an adequate replacement. Replacement, probably the wrong word. I mean, it's not a swimming pool, but it gives you part of the experience. At least the water's quite cool, so it's really quite refreshing and such. So I think that's enough of a video. Very relaxing. Alright, anyway, so till the next time and such. See if we can hit the button without making a mess. Again, just a beautiful day. Hot, but really a beautiful day. So, till next time. I mean, the lens should be better. I should have put it on a tripod. I'm just too lazy. So maybe next time we'll tripod. Yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, so till next time and such.